In the vast, desolate stretches of the American Midwest, where the darkness of night seemed to stretch on endlessly, a truck driver named Jack had seen it all, or so he thought. He had been on the road for years, navigating the long, empty highways that crisscrossed the heartland. Little did he know that one fateful night would forever change his perception of reality. It was a moonless night when Jack found himself driving down a remote highway in Kansas. The only illumination came from the dim glow of his truck's headlights, casting eerie shadows that seemed to dance in the periphery of his vision. He had always been a firm believer in logic and reason, dismissing ghost stories and urban legends as mere fiction. As he continued his solitary journey, Jack noticed a figure in the distance, hitchhiking by the side of the road. A young woman, seemingly stranded in the middle of nowhere, her pale face illuminated by the faint beams of his headlights. Jack, ever the good Samaritan, pulled over to offer her a ride. The young woman climbed into the cab, offering a weak smile of gratitude. She introduced herself as Emily and explained that her car had broken down several miles back. She seemed nervous, her eyes darting around the truck's interior as if searching for something. Jack tried to engage her in conversation, asking about her destination and making small talk, but Emily remained unusually reserved. As the miles passed, a sense of unease settled upon him. He couldn't quite put his finger on it, but something about Emily felt off. Finally, as they approached a desolate stretch of road that seemed to stretch into eternity, Emily broke her silence. In a hushed voice, she confessed that she wasn't just stranded. She was running from something. She spoke of a dark and malevolent presence that had been stalking her, haunting her every step. Jack listened intently, his skepticism giving way to a growing sense of dread. He had heard stories of phantom hitchhikers and haunted highways, but he had never believed them until now. Emily's tale sent shivers down his spine. As the minutes turned into hours, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they were no longer alone on that desolate highway. He glanced in the rearview mirror and saw a shadowy figure in the distance, a silhouette that seemed to flicker and waver in the darkness. It was as if the very night itself was stalking them. Emily's breathing grew rapid, and she clutched Jack's arm, her fingers like ice. She pleaded with him to drive faster, to outrun whatever malevolent force pursued them. Jack obliged, pushing his truck to its limits, but the sinister presence drew ever closer. Just when it seemed that all hope was lost, a blinding flash of headlights appeared on the horizon. Another trucker, a fellow traveler of the night, came into view. The approaching vehicle seemed to repel the shadowy entity, driving it back into the darkness. Jack and Emily pulled over, shaken and terrified. The other trucker, a grizzled veteran of the road, offered them a knowing nod before continuing on his way. It was as if he too had encountered the malevolent force before. Jack and Emily eventually reached a small, well-lit truck stop where they took a moment to catch their breaths. Emily explained that she had been on the run from the vengeful spirit of her abusive ex-boyfriend, who had met a gruesome end in a trucking accident on this very highway. As the night unfolded, Jack couldn't deny the reality of the supernatural. He had experienced something beyond explanation, something that defied his rational worldview. From that night on, he became a believer, forever haunted by the chilling encounter on that desolate stretch of road. For Jack, the open road would never be the same again, and he knew that some mysteries were best left unexplored in the dark corners of the night. In the heart of America's expansive landscapes, where the highways stretched endlessly beneath the vast sky, there was a legendary stretch of road that had seen its fair share of eerie encounters. Route 66, the iconic American highway, had long been a magnet for travelers seeking adventure. But one fateful night, a truck driver named Mike would come face to face with a haunting legend. It was a dark and stormy night as Mike's truck rumbled down Route 66. The rain pounded the windshield, making visibility a challenge. Lightning flashes briefly illuminated the desolate road ahead, revealing nothing but endless stretches of desert. As he pressed on through the storm, he couldn't help but feel a growing sense of unease. The rain-slicked road seemed to stretch on forever, and the isolation was suffocating. It was then that he saw her, a young woman drenched from head to toe, standing at the side of the road, her thumb outstretched. Mike, a seasoned trucker, hesitated for a moment, but ultimately decided to pull over. The woman climbed into the cab, her clothes dripping with rainwater. She introduced herself as Sarah and explained that her car had broken down a few miles back. Mike couldn't leave her stranded in this weather, so he offered her a ride to the nearest town. As they drove on, Sarah's conversation grew increasingly strange. She spoke in cryptic riddles, her words filled with a sense of foreboding. She knew details about Mike's life that she couldn't possibly have known, and her unsettling gaze never left him. As the miles passed, Sarah finally broke her silence. She confessed that she wasn't just a stranded traveler, she was a spirit who had perished in a car accident on this very stretch of Route 66 years ago. She had been hitchhiking when tragedy struck, and her spirit had been trapped ever since. Mike's heart raced as he listened to Sarah's eerie tale. He had heard stories of phantom hitchhikers, but he had always dismissed them as urban legends. Now, he was face to face with the supernatural. As they continued down the desolate highway, Sarah's appearance began to change. Her features grew pale, and her eyes turned an icy black. She reached out to touch Mike, and her hand was deathly cold. Panic surged through him, but he couldn't stop the truck on the rain-slicked road. Suddenly, the truck's radio came to life, emitting a cacophony of eerie static and whispers. Sarah's voice joined the chorus, whispering Mike's name with a chilling malevolence. He gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white with fear. Desperation gripped Mike as he tried to outpace the malevolent spirit that had taken over Sarah's form. He pushed the truck to its limits, praying for salvation. Just when it seemed that all hope was lost, the first rays of dawn broke on the horizon. As the sun's light washed over the highway, Sarah's form contorted and wavered. She let out a blood-curdling scream and disappeared, leaving behind only the cold, empty cab of the truck. Mike pulled over at the next truck stop, trembling and soaked in sweat. He knew he had encountered something beyond explanation. He had come face to face with a vengeful spirit on the open road. For years after that night, Mike never traveled Route 66 again. He became a believer in the supernatural, forever haunted by the memory of the phantom hitchhiker who had joined him on that terrifying journey down the legendary highway.